What's up, YouTube? Have you ever heard the phrases, we're all black and we're all mixed? Right? Have you guys ever heard those phrases? Those phrases tend to come up when we're like talking about like people who are, perhaps different skin tones, people who perhaps even are mixed, and mixed folks versus folks who aren't mixed. Of course, we're talking about black folks, right? And black identified folks, um, or black adjacent folks, I'll say, um, as well. Just light skin and dark skin folks, things like that. All right. So usually when we're all black, that tends to come up, I think, as a way to, I think in some cases as a way to just you know say that we're all like, kind of like we're all just a part of this community. We're all in this together. Let's, not try to, make differentiations, at least in like a negative way, right? And I think that does come from a good place. It does. Um, like some people, if you're black, you're black, to them. And I do believe that there are some people who do operate like that. It's just like, hey, if you identify as black, you're black, regardless of skin tone or shade or whatever, parentage. If you're black, if you have like some sort of a connection to blackness and you claiming it, then you're black, right? Some people do, not all, but some people operate like that. But I will say that, yes, it's kind of like, yes, we're all black, as in we all check the black box, but, we all don't have the same experiences within blackness, within the system of white supremacy and within just the black community, so it's kind of like we're all, we all may identify as black, but I think because of the way that we look, as well as a lot of other factors, but I'll just stick with skin tone here. But the way that our skin tones look, I think it does factor into our experiences in and outside of the black community, right? And I do think that needs to be acknowledged. You know, and I don't think that it's a bad thing that we acknowledge that, but I think sometimes some people don't want to acknowledge that though. They want to gloss over it, sweep it under the rug, avoid it. So, we're all black. Sometimes it's used as a way to do that, to avoid having the tough conversations, to avoid having to make, differentiations, avoid having to admit to color bias, right? Because colorism, much like racism, colorism is an extension of racism. It survives and thrives covertly, not overtly. So phrases like we're all black, that's when sometimes they come up. So to maintain that covertness of colorism. And then on the other hand, you have the phrase, we're all mixed, right? And this tends to come from the fact that like many African Americans can't claim that they're 100% black or 100% African, right? Again, due to the legacy of slavery, unfortunately, we did lose some blackness, right? And I do think it's important for us to hang on to the blackness that we do have. And some of us have more than others, It is what it is. Like, if you don't have it, get it. If you have it, give it. you know? But back to the phrase "we're all mixed." We're all mixed. It can come up similar to how "we're all black" comes up, right? Sometimes it could just be used to sort of make sure that we're not trying to make differentiations in a negative way between people, like, oh, this person's mixed and this person's not mixed, because sometimes, let's be real, sometimes when folks talking about all their mixtures, sometimes we kind of may get the feeling that they're trying to low-key, exotify themselves and elevate themselves, and just make it seem like they're just um, better than the folks who are just um, you know monoracially black with perhaps just a little bit of admixture here and there, you know which of course is a beautiful thing. Nothing's wrong with that at all. That's beautiful. I've had even a couple of people on like my YouTube, like come on like my YouTube page and videos or whatever, and express that, hey, they're like 90% African, or they're 95% African, and that's like beautiful that you were able to hang on to like so much of your Africanness, that African genetic DNA, you know, and that should be celebrated, and I think maybe to an extent it is. I think so, perhaps. Um, um, yeah, but back to the phrase "we're all mixed." So sometimes that comes up when people, don't want to negatively make differentiations. I have actually used that phrase like, I remember like once in my life I have used that phrase, and I did use it in like a positive way to just be like, because somebody, like, I was at like the bus stop, waiting for like the school bus. So this is back when I was like in high school, maybe. Yeah, someone had asked me like, was I mixed, or like what either like what I was mixed with, or like what I if I'm mixed, or some type of a ethnicity racial question type of thing. And then I wound up answering, and I said something like, we're all black, or no, like, we're all mixed. Kind of like in a way to kind of, and this was when I was like, sleep, kind of like, quote unquote, not woke or not so woke. But sort of like a way just to make sure it doesn't come off as if I'm trying to make it seem like I'm better than somebody, because we all know that, some people do feel like, your distance from blackness, it makes you better. Some people buy into that, and some people want to list off every single ethnicity that they got flowing in them. You know, you know, they'll be like, "Oh, I'm a Scottish and Irish, Italian, and French, and then black." And black. Some folks do that. Radon Chong, I think, is one of those people. you know. That's what I've heard. Like I was working at, I was on the job one time, um, and I heard she was a light skinned female. She wasn't mixed, at least not like directly mixed, but lighter skin. Has sort of a look to her, or whatever. And I think the question of her ethnicity wound up coming up from another coworker. And then she wound up kind of going into some things maybe a little bit, and then saying like, we're all, you know, us as black folks, we're all mixed or something like that, in the same way, right? Just kind of make sure, you're not coming off as, you the bougie light skin or mixed person, because, that is a stereotype. And as well, for me, like a personal note, like sometimes I think some people expect me to have some like extravagant tale of like my like the reason that I look the way that I look. Like, I'm like, Norwegian and Dominican, like Iranian and Scandinavian and Brazilian, or something, some like super, exotic pedigree, and oftentimes I'm like, kind of low key, like you know, like I don't really have it, like really, quote unquote exotic pedigree, and kind of low key. Sometimes it feels like I may be slightly a disappointment to some people, but that's another story. All right. The other way that this comes up is more so in a negative way, I think. Um, Usually this may come from like maybe when brown skinned folk, sometimes more so with the women, um, tend to think that the lighter skinned folk, usually the woman, is like trying to position herself as like the exotic, just the best of the best because she's mixed or whatever, and then the brown skinned female may say like, oh, we're all mixed, to sort of like shut it down. Like, no, no, you're not better than anyone else. You know. I know there was a YouTuber who used to sort of receive that a lot. Her name is Biracial Tiffany, or her username is like Tiff Jones, but she goes by like Biracial Tiffany as like her name, and I've seen that happen on her page. Um, a lot of times that comes up, even though she's like directly mixed though. You know? But on the flip side, like I said, when we're all black, I think that we do need to, with the phrase we're all black, it sort of fails, even in its most positive intent, fails to recognize our differences. And that's why with the phrase we're all mixed, it kind of does the same thing. I think we kind of do need to kind of like recognize our differences, not be consumed by them, but recognize them and know that sometimes those differences do play a role in our experiences. You know? And that's okay. It's not that we're saying like some people aren't black or some people, you know, are like the better black people, or not like that and things like that, but it's just to acknowledge, so that we can be better for each other within, within the system that we're in. But I think people sometimes are afraid to do that. And that could be for a few reasons. Some people are, invested in the system of colorism, to be fair, to be honest, to be real. Yeah, and don't want to lose out on their investment. And some people feel like, well, this could, perpetuate colorism. So I'm like, maybe we shouldn't, you know, do this. Maybe we shouldn't make differentiations because it could perpetuate colorism and make the problem worse. You know, it could be divisive or divisive. Um, but like I said, the thing is, colorism tends to survive and thrive covertly. So us avoiding these conversations, it really just helps colorism survive and thrive. So I think for us to, if we're really serious about colorism and, dealing with and eliminating and rectifying problems of colorism, we have to start having conversations and making differentiations and things like that. So that's all I have to say. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.